97% of people who start writing a book never finish it. That is a staggering statistic. And Sue is here to talk to us all about why that might be and why you might want to break that statistic in half by being a part of the 3%. Now, Sue, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why this is important to you and why it probably should be important to a lot of the people who are watching today?
Thank you so much, Shauna, for having me firstly. It's great to be here. So, yeah, a little bit about me. So I started the Author Academy quite a few years ago now. And it all started because of what I went through personally. So I fell into a really deep depression and almost ended my life because of it anyway. And so I decided that I needed to do something about that. And I researched about depression because I really didn't know what it was all about. And so as I was researching, I was pulling and gathering all kinds of information, which I then turned into a book. So I did it to help heal myself. But I then thought, well, yeah, turn it into a book and let's, try and help other people. And so I did that. And from there, I wrote, 10 other books. Pardon me. Got a tickle in the throat. 2 seconds.
I'm all about the water. Always hydrate. Here's your hydration break, everyone. Please take a sip of water. Enjoy. Hydrate.
So apologies. Oh.
It's always wonderful. It's always wonderful when we dive into a conversation and the first thing that you hit me with is something I never knew and something that is potentially life-changing for the people who are listening as well. Because I myself and everyone I know, I don't know this true statistic, but everyone I think knows someone who has struggled through some sort of mental health situation, if not crisis. And there are a lot of different ways that you can manage that you can come out on the other side of that, regulate that. And writing a book, or at least learning what it takes to do that and focusing on that is, for me and for a lot of the people who I know in this sort of space, very inspirational. Like it's not only a way to navigate that space, but it's also a way to, once you're finished it, if you really push through and become part of those 3%, a way to pat yourself on the back and be like, hell yes, I did that. I am worth being here and look at me do all the things. So kudos to you for that. Never mind that you said 10 other books.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Go on.
So thank you for jumping in there. So yes. So from that, I then of course, started writing those books, and everyone kept saying to me, well, how are you doing that? And I thought, well, this is where I need to write a book about how to write a book, because and so I did, and from that, I created my workshops and now my coaching program that I have. And because back when I did that first book, there was no such thing as book coaches back then. So I would have, done anything to have a book coach to help me through the process, because it took quite a while figuring out how to do it, what to do. Yes, admittedly, it's easier now to do that because everything's become easier now, with all the resources we have. However, it's still really good to have someone holding you accountable, holding your hand, moving you through each step and, brainstorming with you. And if you do have, a bit of a block and, go, well, I just don't know where to go, I have resources to help with that. And so we talk about it, but we have other resources that help as well. So I think that's kind of, in a nutshell, my sort of story. And I think I did mention to you, Shauna, that I bring art into it as well, because I'm an art therapist as well. And I love the fact that, I have molded the two together because I couldn't decide which one I wanted to do. So I thought, well, why not do both?
That's one of my favorite things. I say that to my own children all the time. My one daughter says, I don't know what I want to be, Mom. I want to be an animator, but I also want to be a scientist." And I'm like, "Do both." Can I do that? Yes, you can. So if you've learned nothing else when you join here, which I mean, you're going to learn a lot, but you can do both. You can do all of the things. Take the time to lean into your passions and do the thing. And I love that. I love that transition between like, okay, well, there wasn't really anything about how to write a book, how to publish a book, how to do all of this, and so you did it.
Mm,
You filled that gap, and I think that's a really important part of book writing and just in general putting yourself out there,
yes,
just filling
exactly.
that gap, right? Yeah, no, that's amazing. Now, in particular, especially as business owners, because one thing that I learned, and I can't remember where this was from, but when I'm sure that it's some prolific coach or something told this story whereby their child wanted to start a business and they said, well, what should I do? And their parents said, well, solve a problem, right?
Mm,
And so I guess in this case, a lot of these entrepreneurs, myself included, I wanted to solve a problem. I wanted to provide a service that solved a problem. And so then what is the benefit to me after having done all of this already? Because it's freaking hard work. What is
mm.
the benefit to me of even thinking about writing a book? Because it's there. For a lot of people, including myself, it's there. I want to do it so badly. But like, what are the benefits of me investing my time and energy into doing this?
As a business owner, it's huge. So I'll share a little bit of a story which will explain it. So I used to be a member of BNI, which is a huge networking group, which was founded in the US. And I was the vice president at the time. And I remember the president, I arrived and I said, "Oh, look what I now received." And it was my three of my books that I had written all at once because it was for a workshop I was running. And I just went, "Well, how cool would it be to, have books to sell in the back of the room? And why have one? Like how boring.
Go big
Let's
or
do."
go home.
Yep, exactly. So I went, "Okay, 3 it is." I mean, I had a few months to do it, which was good. And so anyway, I said to her, "Have a look what I've got." And she just went, "Oh my goodness, like, really? I didn't even know that you were even doing this." And I said, "Yeah." Anyway, she jumped up and, started the meeting and everything and then said, "Now, I've just got something really, really important to say." And she held up my books and said, "Sue's just published these 3 books that she's written." And people would talk to me, but after that and then, the meeting was over and, you hang around and, people talk to you. Everyone came up to me buying the books, talking to me, and actually saw me as a person, as someone that, was credible.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking, "Oh, I should have done this years ago. If I would have known I was gonna get this kind of reaction," they completely looked at me in a different light. So, it's your business card now these days, People look up to you a lot more when you can say, "I've got a book. I've written a book, I've published a book." And it is if it's, for your business, you're either writing about your business, and it depends on what business you have, whether it's a workbook or, is it a book about, solving a problem, as you said,
Mm.
and it's really, really important to get your message out there and help others.
So I guess my question to you would be then, because I'm hearing like I've always thought of it as well. When you see somebody, I'm a published author. You definitely hold that person in esteem. And you also said that it's becoming easier and easier to be able to become an author. So is that authorship status symbol diminishing, or would you say that it's about the same as it's always been?
Look, I think it's the same as it's always been, I know, yes, it's easier to write these days, but a lot of people, as we started this podcast, 97% of people start but never finish.
It's the
So
follow through that really establishes yourself as that
exactly,
author.
exactly, and people that, have any ounce of understanding of what it takes to write a book, that's where it, all comes together, because it's not I'm not gonna say it's not easy, because if you're passionate about the topic you're writing about, it's not really that difficult, but you do have to commit quite a lot of time to get it done. So, and that's the thing, sticking with that, commitment, and making sure you see it through right to the end. And, when people understand that what goes into it, that's where they look at you and go, wow, that's a huge accomplishment, and kudos to them.
Absolutely. So I've got a few questions. I've always got questions, in case you didn't know. Um, so, okay, I'm going to, in a moment, ask you about, other than the authorship title and the authority that comes with that, I'm going to ask you a little bit more about the ways in which having a book and being an author can help you in your business as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. But first, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about this idea that you need to be dedicated, you need to take the time, and yet you said that it took you a few months to write 3 books. First of all, I'm mind blown. How do you hunker down to do that? I mean, I know that I would like to write a book. I know that I also am running my business, having my 3 kids, living my life, right? I do volunteer work. I'm a very active person within my life. How would you What tips would you give to someone like me who's busy with life and business, to take those first steps, those first action steps in setting the time aside to write the book, to just do the thing?
Yep. So, great question. So, what you need to do is make an appointment with yourself. So, like you put an appointment in for a client, you're the client. So, you put that in. Now, even if it's only half an hour a day, 15 minutes, even, whatever it is, because as soon as you start and you get into that habit of doing it each day, preferably each day is good,
Mm.
you start to see progress, and then you get excited and you go, okay, I've got this, I can really do this, so let's just keep going with it. And you need to just work out exactly the right time for you to do it. So you know i- when are you most active, as far as your brain, like, is it in the morning, is it in the evening, middle of the day? Like, when is it for you? Some people, they get up at 2 in the morning. I don't, I sleep. I like to sleep at 2 in the morning, but some people do. But, that's pretty much that's it, and I always like to say this to people, to also to be in that 3%, the 3 percenters, write your last chapter first,
Mm.
because you then know where you're heading, and it helps you move towards the end.
That's really neat. That's
It's a
that's very cool. So write this down. If you're an aspiring author, write the last chapter first. I don't think, funny enough, so I don't know if you've read Stephen King's On Writing, but I really enjoyed his view of the world. I enjoyed the way he depicted how he became a writer, his journey, his memoir, so to speak. I thought that it was really interesting. Now, he said the same thing: set the same amount of time aside, or some amount of time, dedicate yourself to that. And I always thought in the back of my head, well, that's easy for you to say. Your wife took care of your kids, right? You had that other person there, so you could just be like, all right, honey, I'll just be on the patio writing my horror stories, whatever, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so for me, that seemed really almost unattainable. But to but I mean, I hear this now that I've matured as a person and I've been able to kind of navigate this space. My time is my own, and to decide that I am prioritizing this for a half an hour every single day at 2 p.m., not a.m., then then just doing the thing. It
Mm.
may take you not 3 months, but 3 years, who knows? But if you've dedicated that time and written your last chapter first, then it's doable.
Mhm. It
I love
really
that.
is.
that inspires me and gives me hope for the future. So with
Awesome.
that, I've written the book. Okay. We have written the book as participants in this conversation, and hearing you as an expert, Sue. um, what what can we do with it over and above being an author and having that authority? What else is there?
So having a book opens up all kinds of doors. It really does. It opened up a lot for me. You know, you can take it along like go and ask different groups where you can be the guest speaker and talk about your book. Take your book, talk about it, sell it at the back of the room, like I did for my workshops. Create a workshop around your book, is a good one. So, and this is where, you think, like, depending on what your book you know, is it a book that you can then turn it into a workshop of sorts? So, especially if it's a workbook that goes with the book, then, you can definitely run a workshop around it. And the book could be part of the tickets price, so that, when they purchase the workshop ticket, they get a copy of the book. And
That's definitely a bonus and an incentive to purchase
Mm,
the ticket, right? Because then you get a tangible.
exactly,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. Like, you could even, depending on the type of book, you could even turn it into a retreat as well. There's all kinds of things really that you can do. You can go and do book signings in cafes. I know we do that here in Australia. Bookshops, you can get bookshops to showcase you and let you have signings in the bookshops. There's all kinds of things, but, as far as business owners, you definitely wanna be getting involved with different networking groups and going along and see if you can be guest speaker.
So really, I mean, that authority that comes with being an author and having a tangible, and all of these things just kind of add up onto themselves to open doors. And
Mm,
all of the doors, not just doors that other people may or may not have kept closed for you until you've become an author, but also doors for yourself to
mm,
open up new opportunities for possibility. That's
exactly.
that's something else. I mean, that's literally the infinity of life. You want to
Exactly.
do the thing, write the book. The thing can happen. Anything can happen in that case. That's really cool. So, in order to get your message out using a book, what is what frame of mind do you need to be in? Because I've got all the ideas. I am that person. I tell people I'm a self-proclaimed idea blower upper, and I know a lot of our viewers are as well. They think but I know this, and I know this, and I'm an expert in this, and I have all these ideas going around, and I can help so many people. How do we just pause and do the thing? And how do we choose what is the quote unquote right thing to do first?
I think the most important thing you need to do first is, well, of course, work out what the book's gonna be about, but then who's your target audience? You really need to be clear on who the target audience is, because you do wanna mold the book as much as you can towards that target audience, so that, hello, they're gonna definitely purchase it and tell other people about it. So I think you need to really work that out, and then, write to your target audience.
Absolutely. And this is a really important part of marketing. So, um, all of what we've been saying about write a book, become an author, having the title, get the authority that's attached to that, open doors using this, leverage it in your offers, making sure that you're writing it for the specific person. All of this is marketing.
Mm,
So that's what's beautiful. That I love that, because people will think, oh well, but marketing looks this way. Because if I write a book, then I have to market the book.
mm,
But when you do it right, your book markets you.
mhm.
That's something special. That's a really, really golden thing right there. I love it so much. So, okay, we're looking at this book. We're looking at writing it for a specific person. We've gone through all these things. So I'm just thinking to myself, my clients specifically, tend to have a really hard time narrowing down their quote unquote niche, right? Who am I actually writing for? And how do I pick the appropriate things to say to them in order to really grasp their attention and pique their interest and then of course keep them there.
Mm.
I help people in the way that I help them to figure that out. But I'm not a book coach. As a book coach, how would you guide people for the first few steps of that?
So, another good question. So, it's working out the problems that you solve. So, what are the problems that you solve? And also then aligning that with, well, what keeps your target audience awake at night? So, and do they align? Do they line up together? And if not, why not? And figuring that out. But the very first steps, of course, is we work that out the timeline of the book so that we can, make sure that everything that the target audience is wanting to know to be able to solve that problem is included in there. Hopefully that answered that question.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, and in the end, we're actually coming full circle because we're still filling gaps. We're
Yes, yeah,
finding out where is the hole and filling it.
exactly. And when you're writing too, like you don't have to go, I mean, okay, yes, we start the last chapter first, but we don't then have to go back to chapter 1, 2, 3, 4. We can go and do any chapter. Like I know when I was writing my books, I would wake up in the morning and go, what do I feel like writing about today? And I would go, you know what? I think I'd like to write about blogging today. And so that was, I think, I don't know, chapter 8 or something. I can't remember exactly now in the book, but I just wrote that chapter because that's what I felt comfortable writing that day. And it was, because there's nothing worse than trying to force yourself into writing about something and it doesn't flow.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's something that a lot of people have a hard time with is that writer's block, right?
Mhm.
And so in
Yeah.
order to circumvent that, lean into the flow. What are you flowing with? So now, I know we've only got a couple more minutes left, but I want to know then, do you advocate for having a skeleton of your book before you start out?
Yeah, so this is where the outline comes in. We work out, roughly what the chapters are going to be. They don't have to end up being in that order because as you go through, you go, that doesn't actually fit there. We'll move that. Or, oh my goodness, I forgot to add this bit in. As you're going through it, things come up and you go, oh, I need to add that in. So we then find where that goes in. So yes, we do start with that skeleton, and then within each of those chapters, we do the little subtopics. So, you do 4 to 6 subtopics for each chapter, and then, you might only write about one subtopic for that day, but, it depends how you're feeling, and then all of a sudden you've written the 4 to 6 topics and voila, there's your chapter written.
That's inspiring because truly my brain personally does not function in a linear pattern. So to be able to just go, oh, this one today, oh, this one today, that's really exciting and definitely empowering so that you don't feel like you need to fit into a box, which I think is a
Yeah.
really important part of how you're advocating for writing a book is because a lot of people will think, oh, well, I'm just not the book writing type, or I don't follow I don't know what word to use, the decorum that is involved with being an author. And I feel like I want to pose like a choir singer at this point because it feels very prestigious, right? But you don't have to, is what you're saying. You can do
No.
it. It evolves with you as you put the pieces into place, and then they find their place in the end. That's really fun and exciting. So I'm going to leave it there, but ask you respectfully to please tell us, is there anything else? I mean, you've already given me personally, and I know our whole audience is now gobsmacked. I'm sure that everybody went and grabbed all of their books and started taking notes voraciously. Oh my goodness, I got to take all of this in. However, is there anything else that you would like to add, that cherry on top that will help people to set out on this journey in a way and in a mindset that will allow them to be a part of that 3% who actually get the job done?
Look, I just think you need to figure out what your book's about, put that appointment in your diary, and start. Just start and keep going. And again, don't be so hard on yourself. You've got this. And of course, if you'd like some help along those lines, I do have a website, or that a page on my website that you can go to for more writing resources, which is www.authoracademy.com.au/gifts, GIFTS, gifts. And you'll find all kinds of free tools there to help you get started. And of course, you can also book a free 30-minute heartstorming session with me on that page as well.
Oh, that's exciting. Oh my goodness. I feel like I have already reaped so much value from just knowing you. I can't imagine anybody not taking advantage of, at at the very least, going to the site, obtaining the amazing resources you have, listening to your podcast, and you said a free 30-minute call.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. I'm there. I'm there, and everybody else should be too. I'm so excited. Thank you so much, Sue, for joining me today. We are going to definitely stay in touch, and I hope you have a great rest of the day, and everyone else as well.
Thank you so much for having me, Shauna. It's been an absolute pleasure.